All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren. I am a full-time cabin attendant, as well as owner of Cabins in the Sky, where we do coaching, mentoring, online courses. I do advising and consulting for flight departments. And today we have a very highly anticipated segment that we wanted to film today. I see questions like this all the time that come through Facebook groups, Instagram DMs, WhatsApp messages, and a lot of it is about taxes, finances. It seems to me that this is just a piece that of the industry that we aren't experts at. Set up beds, we can serve 10 in under 45 minutes, but when it comes to numbers, we are a bit intimidated, and I know that they are not my strong suit by any stretch, but I knew somebody who it was. I want to introduce you to Jenia Serebrin. She is the tax saving game changer. She was also a supporter of the Crew 2024 event. I knew that she's the one. She has her bachelor's from Chapman, and she also has a master's in taxation from Golden State University. I mean, she's brilliant, she's relatable, she's approachable, she's everything that we need as cabin attendants and men and women in this industry to make sure our books are right. There is a lot of money getting tossed around in what we do, and we need to make sure we're doing it correctly. I reached out to her as soon as I started my business because I knew that if I didn't have the right foundation for what I was doing, it was all going to be for none. Jenya, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren, for this wonderful introduction. And thank you for being here. I am so excited for you guys because once I discovered how much fun this industry and area is and how much help we can do and support our business if we just decide on one thing. That number one, it's going to be easy, it's going to be fun, it's going to be so exciting because we made that decision. I'm just going to take it away. I have a little presentation for you guys. I also have a surprise and gift and bonus for you, for everybody who's ready to take businesses to the next level. And also, we received your questions and I cannot wait to answer them as well. So let's just start.
So many good questions. There were so many good questions, a lot of which were the same. So I know you're all on the same page and sort of on the same mindset.
All right, so, well, first of all, again, my name is Jenia Serebrin. I'm known as the tax saving game changer. You hear that, and you're here for a reason. There is time for you to step up. As you, I was right there when I started. I knew that there is it's some kind of game, and there are rules. So business rules, if you want to play this game, you want to play it big, let's just find out what the rules are and start implementing it. It's time. What every entrepreneur must know to grow a successful business. So we're going to learn the game and take your power back. So let's just start. My next slide would be, guess what? What you focus on is going to grow. I'm very analytical, and I also love to make sure that I'm fast at learning. So up until now, you were in this energy that for some reason you decided, or somebody put that in your head, that numbers are difficult, math is, taxes are so scary, right? And starting business and then dealing with the bookkeeping side and tax side is so hard. And guess what? It's been growing. It's been growing inside of you and dragging you down with this burden. So I'm inviting you for a second, decide. Number one, this principle works. It works, Lauren, right?
Yeah, it
It
absolutely
does
does.
work.
And we're entrepreneurs, as whether you're a flight, like a full-time flight attendant or a contractor, like you have your business and you have your brand. And again, like I said, all of it is for none if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to the books.
So as an analytical person, I wanted you to understand that once you decide, it's going to be easy, it's going to be easy. And the principle, what you focus on grows, is going to help you. So my next slide would be, so here you're going to learn the following. And I have my promise to you that I will walk you through the foundation, what you need to know to make sure that your business in a good state, and that everything that you learn, you can today, you can implement immediately. make sure that you reach out to Lauren, or she will make sure that all slides are available for you. So I know that Lauren gave an excellent introduction of who I am and what I do. So tax saving game changer. And I created the blueprint that helps entrepreneurs just like you to save more, to stop overpaying to the government in penalties and fees, and to help you build and live that legacy. And the fun part is, like, I also think that taxes are so much fun. Going back to that, focus on what you want to grow, and that's what's going to be grow big. So I want to make sure that in your life, you enjoy taxes, you enjoy numbers, so that you would just stop wasting that a lot of energy on this, right? So
And a
you're
lot of
all smart. You are so smart, guys. It's like, I admire how you can travel to places and stay in that good energy and always look beautifully. Right? Okay, so let's go next. A little bit more about me. You probably can guess, hearing my accent, I'm an immigrant from Russia. I came to the US in 2006, and just like you, I knew nothing about business game. So I started simple: SpongeBob, Seinfeld, Sopranos, reading newspapers, learning. And that's how I figured out, okay, you just need to start small and learn the rules. And that's what we're going to do in this webinar, so you get that foundation, right? And it's just, I made a lot of mistakes on my back then husband's businesses. And I would be like, oopsie, but I learned. My best friend was Google. He taught me a lot. And then I went more and more and more. So you know what happened? What happened was, I was focused and interested in one area, and it grew. Okay. So that if I could figure it out, the rules and regulations, and set up businesses, so can you. By the way, I just want to stop for a second so you can see my face. Okay, so the most important question that I was asked in my life was, at the age of 14, my sister came to our house, my distant remote cousin, and she literally asked me one question that changed my life. What do you want when you grow up? I just thought for a second, and then I said, I want to learn English, and I want to move somewhere else, to live somewhere else. For your business, and I'm getting goosebumps, for your businesses, just freeze for a second and decide. You're a successful entrepreneur. You're a badass lady boss. You're somebody who created the legacy. And the most important part that I want to put in your head, you get to live this legacy now too. And it's possible. So what do you want? You put it on a piece of paper, write it down what you want. That's going to be your financial goal. And by financial goal, just like me, I started super, super small, but then right now I'm going for $10 million. By the specific age limit. Nobody said I cannot do it. And the most important question is, in my life, what do you want? So at the age of 14, 10 years later, I landed at LAX International Airport. What do you want? Okay. What I want for you guys, to make this process, to decide that this process is easy and fun. Once you decide, that's what's going to be. All right, let's go next. I think that this part, once you land this part, everything will change in your life.
I remember you and I had that conversation the first day that we talked, and for whatever reason, that was the first time that it clicked that, you could do more and bigger and better than this, but also understand it too, right? So like all these questions that we have, like, we can start businesses as cabin attendants. Our job is so fantastic, but we can also do more and better and bigger with the experience that we have in private aviation. So.
And you probably dreamt about this amazing job to fly and travel and see places, and you get to keep some money and grow it and be wealthy and rich because okay, so another thing that just got into my head, you touch a lot of wealthy, high net worth individuals. What does it mean? That means that your average of 5 is way higher than the ordinary people.
You think bigger.
Yeah, you're lucky in that. So let's go back. Okay, 5 steps, and I will run quickly through them. So first of all, your time is now. Decide what you want, and let's go. 5 steps. Make a decision. that it's not a hobby. And I will explain later why. Next, step number 2, determine the right legal entity for your business. We will touch that because I got so many questions regarding this. So we will totally answer that. Step number 3, set up your business structure. Step number 4, report of income, how to report income and expenses. And 5, this reconciliation and review and why we need that. So let's just begin. Okay, so think with me for a second. Some of you might not be very serious about this new hobby or idea that you have to be a flight attendant, and you still treat that as a hobby. Well, for a second, I want to tell you, and pause me so you can write it down. Imagine you're still considering it a hobby. Okay? So this is my hobby. I fly. I am not in this business. I'm not in business, and it's not for profit. It's because I'm a big soul, and there's nothing wrong with that. So as a hobby, you make, let's say, $1,000 this year. Okay? So just pause me, write down what you make. Okay? $1,000. Great. And then write down the approximate estimated expenses that you incurred while being in this hobby activity. Okay, so let's just imagine I made $1,000, and usually you would spend like at least $1,200 worth of expenses, right? So
Kind of expenses.
well, I mean, it's like if it's a hobby, let's say I want to knit something, and I would get all materials for that, and then I would just sell it somewhere, somebody very cheap, right?
Okay.
So that's my hobby. I'm not in for business, or I'm making this home cards and I'm selling them. So just the idea of the hobby. If you're just flying for, let's say you decided to have this little gig, but it's not your full-time job, it's just a little hobby on the side, right? And you're not treating it as business, here's what happens. You made $1,000, you spend to be in this hobby activity $1,200. Your loss is $200, right? According to the regulations. As a hobby, a person who has a hobby, you must report your income. So you're going to report $1,000, but you cannot deduct your expenses.
So all those
Next
questions
question.
people asking, what can I write off if you're not treating it as a business?
Exactly. How the IRS defines a hobby as an activity. So it's not for profit. It's because you love doing it. You're such a generous soul. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like this. And what's business? It's an activity that you actively participating to make a difference and create money and have a profit. So as ladies, especially our category is ladies, so stop pretending we started this business and we don't want to make money. Enough is enough. Stand up. Start making money. Imagine how it's going to change your life, your family life, your community life. We get to do it, and we get to proudly say, I'm in my business for profit. I am here to make a difference, because difference equals money, profit, wealth for you.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Yeah. And then you get to get all the expenses. So in order for you and for the IRS to determine whether you have a hobby or business, you must say yes to 9 questions. These are the questions. So I would advise you just pause this recording and answer to all the questions. That's going to open up so much for you. First of all, so you must maintain complete and accurate books and records. Boom. So your bookkeeping must be there. Number 2, you must indicate and you must work. So it's in order for it to make sure that that you're here to make a difference, to have profits. It's not your sidekick to, write off some expenses. Because that's like, it's a low game. It's like play big. This is the time you step up. This is the time you go, and all that good stuff. So 9 questions just for you to look over. All right. So hobby versus business. On both sides, all income is reported. No profit motive, and then for profit mindset. Expenses are not deductible on federal level. Some states might allow it, but there is some kind of scale too. And then on the business side, all business-related expenses are deductible. And this is the part that we'll talk about this later because you get so many questions. And then income reported on different schedules, Schedule 1 and Schedule C.
Question about that.
Sure.
So can you just explain that briefly, what the difference is between Schedule 1 and Schedule C?
All right, so this is the fun part. And you guys get to do it with me so that I teach you what I do when, oh, this is your friend. The website is user-friendly. The questions are user-friendly, dumbed down. So you would say, let's say Schedule C. And then everything about Schedule C, profit and loss from business. So in order for you, there is like, when you go further, you'll see Schedule C form, 1040, and then instructions.
Perfect.
I'll go deep into that a little bit later when we talk about, because this is the part that you will need to know when you think about your business and when you're a sole proprietor or LLC member. So this is actually a really cool form. Let's just get excited with me because this is a really cool form.
Turning overwhelm into excitement.
Yes. And I was just like, okay, well, first of all, you're in business, which means that you made that hard decision to jump in. It takes some courage to do that. The majority of people don't do that. They're scared. They're 9 to 5, playing safe. There is nothing wrong with that, but we are different. We're the one who jump in and decided, declared, and ask the question, yes, to what do I want? And I want this, right? Okay, great. And then we'll talk about this a little further. Okay, so if you're not sure whether it's a hobby or not, so you're just not ready yet. I want you to get ready. Just decide. And after that, everything will start flowing. Remember that principle number 1, whatever you focus on starts growing, starts expanding. Use that principle in your business. Okay, so 9 questions, and let's continue. So this is my fancy line that I came up with. Every business is started as a hobby, but not every hobby ends up being a business. Just sit with it for a second. I think it's just like, okay, so I'm not alone. I have this idea. It's just a hobby. So you just need to declare.
I talk to so many cabin attendants who have such good ideas. They fly full-time contracting or full-time with a company, and whether it's they're expert in the culinary department and they want to do classes for people, or they're an expert in some small area, and I'm like, nobody's doing that. Why don't you do that? And it's just like, put that little bug in their ear. So I hope they see this and they're like, okay, done.
Yes. And again, it's just like, hang out with people who have ideas like this crazy enough so you get the courage and you get infected with that energy now, if not now, then when. So 2 types, and this is where we get a little bit deeper. And right now we'll just look at sole proprietorship and an LLC, limited liability company. Well, first of all, I know there's like a lot of bullet points for you guys, and let's just start from, I kind of pause and bring you back mentally. When you have an entity above you or don't have an entity, you still can be in business.
Okay.
It's not a hobby, you're in business. You don't have an entity, that means you're a sole proprietor. The way to start your sole proprietorship business that I recommend to my clients is literally wake up in the morning, look at the date, go to the mirror and say, today is the perfect day to start my sole proprietorship business. And it starts. There is nothing, there are no agency out there to go and like fill the paperwork. You're in sole proprietorship business. It starts today. So it's owned by you. There is only you. There could be your wife and husband. But as of right now, you run it as a solo individual, right? So there is no separation between you and your business. It's all together. It's together, okay? And I'll tell about how it's good or bad. So it's the same paying tax paying entity, which means it's going to be on Schedule C that we mentioned before, and it's all reported on your 1040, Form 1040, okay? There is no corporate compliance required, and I'll explain that for LLC. So right here, there are no other reports. There is no, unless you have payroll, here there won't be anything else needed. You don't need to do the articles of incorporation or articles of organization and all filings. So you're all good. There is no annual reporting to the state. There is no separate income tax return to the state. So you're good. You don't need to get your federal tax ID number. You don't. What you do, you're going to run your business under your social security number. Question that you would get right now. Can I get a federal tax ID number? Can I shield a little bit and cover my social security? Yes, you can. And you can do it. So you can do in doing business as, and then you will need just to locally file the paperwork, fictitious name paperwork.
What would be some benefits and what are some things that we would want to protect ourselves from?
Okay, so it's always a good idea not to give people your social security number.
Of course, I agree with that.
Right. So let's say I don't have my Serebrin Group LLC company. I would run my business as Jenia Serebrin and doing business as your tax girl.
Mhm.
So I have two options. I can either run it on under my social security, or I just go and obtain federal tax ID number. For those of you who want help with that, I'll let you know when and how, but it's a 5-minute process online using IRS website. And obtain tax ID. Okay, the IRS does that for free. So you'll just go to apply for federal tax ID number. And it's very straightforward. It all explained here. All right. So two options, either be under Social Security or get your federal tax ID number. It's up to you. It depends what kind of clients you're going to have and what's your level of risk tolerance. That's it.
A lot of the clients that contractors or I mean any cabinet attendant would have would be a company, whoever they're contracting out for. So I would say the vast majority of them are probably a pretty safe bet and they're safe and they're not gonna be doing anything shifty or anything weird like that. So at that point, does it sort of just depend on how you want to run it? It's not necessarily like a safety thing, but it's more how you want to run your business.
Okay, so if you have federal tax ID number, it also shows me that your brand is higher than just being personal, and it's like you're presented as a more professional.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
So, okay, so there's no paperwork to start or cease operations. Important part, okay, business income, net income, whatever, let's say you generated $1,000, you spend 800, you show the business net income of 200. This 200 is subject to self-employment taxes. Just stay with me here. I know it's like, we can go deep really quickly, but self-employment taxes are the scariest taxes ever, in a way. So the only thing, what type of tax you don't want to mess up is self-employment tax or just payroll taxes, right? Because it's a little bit more, and it's your social security, and it's like, well, if we go any further and you get the course from me, or you just want to I'll tell you the drill, you still need to know it a little bit. So, but for right now, business net income is subject to self-employment taxes. Then there could be some local business licenses and permits that you're required to get in your area. So you get to research that part. If you need help, there's always somebody, you just need to ask. You're just like, who can help me? And the universe is like, okay, there's Jenia Serebrin or somebody else in your area.
Exactly. And I will say, I've used the IRS website quite a bit. It is super user friendly. Like it really is for people who say that they're not good with technology. It is very straightforward.
Right. Google helps. So I would just say be analytical and non-attached, because sometimes people find something online and it matches their expectations and their desires that might not be true. So get a few links and then see what the source is. Is it a tax practice? Is it IRS website? Is it something, or is it Reddit? I mean, you just guys make a decision where you want to get your information from. Absolutely. So sole proprietorship. Any questions on that?
I don't think so. Because from my understanding, it's like just the normal way you would file tax at the end of the year, just nothing different. You know, all of the work that you've done, all of the trips you've done, you know, just probably the way you file taxes is the way that you've learned it, the most basic way.
Right. So it would be Jenia Serebrin, doing business as, and all that little stuff. So it could be your federal ID number, social security number, and you just list everything.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward. There's nothing. And I'll talk about especially expenses and how to look at them, how to classify a little bit later, just for you guys. All right, so let's just shift to LLC. LLC, single member of limited liability company. So you're not a partner, you're a member. Anybody in the LLC, if it's two or more, they are members, they're not partners. It's not partnership, it's can be treated as later if there are two members, but as of right now, we will focus only as you are the only single member inside of that company.
Okay.
Which means that you own 100%, you are the 100% owner, right? If you're married, you don't need to put your husband on this LLC. He already owns 50% of it, no matter what, especially if you're in California. Community rules, states with community rules. So let's just imagine for a second, you decided I make a bunch of money, I want this LLC. So you just go and get to your state in California franchise tax board. You go, I want to get limited liability company. So you would just submit articles of organization. Pretty straightforward. Sometimes it's even free. So the way you would do it, and I just want to like play with you guys, FTB California, and it's just California if you're in California. So you would just go to, like let's just file article of organization.
And this is every state has their own, correct? Because I remember
Yes.
when mine in Ohio, where it's based, it was also straightforward. They told you exactly what you needed to fill out. You submitted it. It took a couple days to go through and.
So with California, you can get your articles of organizations within 1 day.
Even better.
The only thing you need to do is to find the names, like have 3 names before you jump in. It's $70 to get it processed, but it's super easy. There is nothing. It's just like sometimes my newbies ask, okay, do I need to hire an attorney or do this? Yes, you can, to make if that makes you feel better, or you just go into how to start an LLC in California, just replace the state. And then you just do, it's just like, this is the time when I'm excited for you because it's your baby. You're about to deliver. Let's do due diligence. The rule is what? It's supposed to be easy. So it's going to be easy. All right. So once you do that, remember that you own this as a solo individual. That's considered disregarded entity. Sometimes when you hear that disregarded entity, that means that the IRS doesn't know you, doesn't care about you. There is no federal tax return for you
As an individual.
as that entity.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. As an entity, you must file the annual report, like Form 568 with the California, but nothing to the IRS. For the IRS, everything jumps on Schedule C.
Okay.
So, and just for you to think about, let's say when you have a partnership, when you have LLC with multiple members, it's already partnership return. It's completely different return, absolutely separate from you.
Okay.
Versus when you are the only member, it's disregarded entity and you own it. The
Right.
best part of it, there is a separation between business and you. Why is it important? Well, first of all, I have assets. I have my home, I have my car, I have my brokerage accounts. If I mess up in my business and the client comes after me and I have an LLC, nothing happens to my personal assets. They're safe, they're covered. LLC will be responsible for that, right?
So
And if there are no assets in LLC, there is another, layer of protection. So you will need to have something like some kind of business insurance, errors and omission insurance, general insurance, whatever, belonging to your business, just to keep you safe. This is not a luxurious kind of expense. This is a must-have because you never know, right? And you as a business owner, just protect your baby. So on this level, let's talk about the federal tax ID number. You have 2 options. You can run under your Social Security or you can obtain your federal tax ID number. I'd say, why not get the federal tax ID number?
That's what I did.
Just have that another layer. So again, business net income is subject to self-employment taxes. And then there are some business license and permits required. It's for specific state or specific activity. All right, so I know it's a lot and it gets to be easy. So think about yourself right now, where you are. Like if you don't have an LLC, the questions to think about, do I have a lot of stuff that I own? Like, do I have a house? Do I have assets that could be at risk if something happens? If not, then you're going to be fine for some time. My advice, we are here to make a difference, which means we're here to make a bunch of money. I don't want to play big, small, and I don't want you to play small, which means the goal is $1 million, whatever it is for you. Just pause, write it down what it is for you. When you're that business owner generating $1 million, you cannot operate as blah, blah, blah sole proprietor, right? You got to have a presentable name, and you get to be either LLC or maybe an S corp later. You have to, you just like, you get to have that entity that would be presentable, and it's just showing to the world that I'm serious about my business. I'm running it as the businessman, businesswoman, and I'm here to stay. I'm not scared of all penalties or taxes, and I'm going to apply for my federal tax ID number, because even I wouldn't say just I have a judgment, but I see, oh, you have federal tax ID number, so you're here for a long run. You're not in and out.
Yeah.
Because so once you, for some reason, decided to retire because you already made a bunch of money, there are some documents that you need to file to dissolve your LLC.
I think that it's so great. And, when people ask, like, do I actually need one or is it worth it? That's the reason why. It's a layer of protection and it's professionalism. And it's, it gives you that room to grow. It's not just what you're doing right now. It opens up a lot of options and a lot of protection. So yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I've been running everything through my Cabins in the Sky LLC, and it makes a difference.
And the next question that I want to address is the following, and your mindset behind it. I'm in California. Can I get an LLC, obtain an LLC in a different state where the rules are much easier, or should I just organize LLC here? Well, first of all, because, oh, California, $800. Pause. What are you thinking about right now? What kind of mindset you are in right now? Number one is scarcity.
Mhm.
California charges, and I'm in the Los Angeles area, California. I love it here. I'm not particularly a fan of tax strategy systems here. And in 10 years, when my kids graduate school, we will go to Caribbean and live there. However, I am here. So what does it mean that my headquarters are in California? I run my business, could be online, and I could, have business with somebody in New York. But I am here, all my wisdom and stuff coming from California. So for the privilege to operate in California market, all companies must pay, right? Okay, so when you start an LLC, it's $800 franchise tax for the privilege to run and operate in the California market. I can go outside and get my LLC in Delaware. Okay, there is scenarios like this, and my LLC still operates in California state. Guess what? I will need to register this foreign LLC in the state of California. So think about the level of complexities that you generate by trying to save and be in that scarcity mode for $800. So it's requirement to file LLC there. You are really uncomfortable thinking about, will FTB come after me or not?
Mhm.
Right? You can pretend that you run business there. You can do that. However, where I'm coming from, I am right here. My headquarters is here. $800 is an expense for my company, right? I want to sleep at night. I want to make sure that I'm in integrity and in this really good energy. Because think about, if I'm not scared, I'm just going to go and blast my business, generate millions.
Right.
I am not at the level to be $800,
Yeah.
like this.
Scarcity. Yeah,
No.
I mean, in our industry and what we do, $800, even if in California, is a day's worth of work is more than $800 in California.
So how you decide to structure your business, it doesn't matter. It's like what kind of business owner you are, what kind of standards you set, the boundaries. And like I am in tax industry, right? So we have white, black, gray. So I choose to be in the integrity with myself because I cannot sign frivolous tax returns because I will stay up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I did this, and it's just like this really not a good feeling,
That's
right? So it's just like, no, that's why, and I'll teach you a little bit later. When you run your bookkeeping, when you run your taxes, and you're like, should I report this income? And I have 3 years to sit on it. Like, it's up to you. My advice, let's report all income. Let's get all deductions available and not allowable for your industry. And let's just focus on the growth.
right.
I'm not here to help you with your retirement. I'm here to help you save, generate, and grow. Completely two different energies, right? Going back to your LLCs, who would love to pay $100 to California? Yeah, because
Yeah.
that just, yeah. So this is my advice for you to think. There are options. There are people out there who can help you with some loopholes and kind of like ways around it. But at the end of the day, where are you? Where do you live? What do you stand for? What's your boundary?
Right.
Right.
Like
And
that's
then go aside from that. Because like you might not be in California tomorrow, which means that you will dissolve it here, transfer it to a different state and pay less. That's an option. And you are in a best condition because you travel. And literally you can live anywhere.
right.
The best place right now, Puerto Rico. You guys go research the tax heaven. You want to talk about this? Call me. But it's like, think about the ways how to make it work and how to make it easy. So you are in the integrity generating income rather than being scared.
I guess to go off of that, because we travel so much and, companies that people contract with, like one is based in California, one's in New York, one's in Texas. So, from an integrity standpoint, because where you live, where your address is, that's
Residents.
where your LLC should be based so that you're not worried about, like you said, staying up at night and thinking about other things. Like you can find loopholes elsewhere, write-offs and this and that and things that are legal and legitimate and real versus, less than a day's worth of work. You're going to worry about that. So
My experience working with female entrepreneurs and male, we are in feminine energy. We are in mother type. We are here to build, nurture, and grow. Guys are risky as hell.
I
They're
know.
like, oh, I don't care, let's go. I'm
I
not
know. They
about it.
really are.
Which is nothing wrong with that. It's just different energy. So
Exactly.
pick your lane, go for it. All right. So when you set up your business, just understanding the rules. There are rules. Let's see if I have any rules for you. Okay. This is universal for every business, which means that whether you're a sole proprietor, you're a single member of an LLC, you're in partnership, you're in corporation, you're S corporation, you're in trust. This is what you need to realize, know, and just accept it. So number one, separate bank account, which means that there is no commingling. If you run your business, if you are in business, separate. It's just like church and government, right? The reason for that, you scroll back from the very beginning, there are 9 rules.
Mhm.
IRS knows that some of us entrepreneurs, we are sneaky a little bit. So we might do hobby that and kind of pretend that it's our business. So the main rule, everything is separate. No commingling, separate bank accounts. It doesn't have to be a business account. If you're a sole proprietor, it's just create regular checking account, keep it separate. Also, which means that you would put money in, you would like pay expenses out of this account. If you don't have enough cash, let's say you use something, put something on a credit card, then when the business gets money, just kind of pay it back. Make it super clean, and I'll explain why a little bit later. So separate bank accounts. Number 2, operating agreement in place specifically for LLC. So also, because you're gonna be you probably gonna be doing business with somebody and they will ask for this. Number 2, you might hire employees. So that kind of this is the time you take care of this. General insurance I already mentioned to cover yourself and from any risks. Vendor and customer agreements. So have contract. You know what, before you start providing services, there should be a contract. That's a regular thing. You can hire an attorney just to draft it for you, like a little template that you can tweak a little bit. You know, I'm not an attorney. I'm a tax accountant, and having back then, I was running accounting department for the attorney's office downtown LA. It's a badass litigation company. Everything is like, once you protect your company with a contract, it's harder for somebody come and basically steal yourself, right? So just, it doesn't have to be an expensive attorney. It's just somebody you trust. Ask somebody and have them at least look over.
Yeah.
And once you start making more money, it's a must. There is no more, you know, playing. It's like, again, reputation. So next one is no commingling, which again, personal and business life separate. Okay, so next one, comply with 1099 issue requirements. So whether you have a sole proprietorship business or an LLC or any other entities, the 1099 requirement is the same for everyone, which means that you have a vendor, you pay that vendor $600 or more. You must issue 1099 non-employee compensation or whatever form like to that person, which brings us back to the contract. There could be, let's say, five page of contract with all the, you know, conditions, and the last page could be W9, which is, okay, so if you have a question, W9, so we're gonna go right here, form W9. So this form, go again to the IRS website, form W9. When you start working with the new vendor, always ask for this form, because this is your responsibility as the business owner to fill out the 1099 form. 1099 form is based on W9 form. So the vendor would put the name, the classification, like who it is, individual, sole proprietor, C Corp, S Corp, blah, 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 social security number or employer. Okay, why do you guys need this? So number one, you protect yourself. You pay somebody later and you issue 1099. Usually the penalty was $100 per vendor or more, and the IRS monitors that. So if for some reason the vendor refuses to sign the form, to send you this form, what does it tell you? Maybe it's time not to work with that vendor, because there are so many vendors out there. Some would say, oh, I've never heard of this. That's great. You still need the form. And again, if they're super difficult, you don't want to work with that vendor, right?
Oh,
Question?
I was gonna say, so then the 1099s, just in case anybody's unsure, those are what you get when tax season rolls around, correct? From anybody that you've worked for. So this, when the way you fill this out is how your 1099 is gonna show up, whether
Right.
it's your individual social or your EIN number.
Right. So whatever. So just imagine for a second, the IRS is interested to know how much money you make and how much money you spend, right? So in order for me as an IRS to know how much money I pay to that vendor, so I would watch that vendor, I am asking you to do to file a 1099 form. Okay.
Right.
So you tell me that you pay that vendor $1,000. Okay, so your responsibility, file the 1099 form, non-employee compensation, you're done, you're good, you're in good spirit with the IRS. That vendor decides to forget to file tax return or mention that he received $1,000. Red flag. You have nothing to do with this. You did your compliance and you know, due diligence, and it's right now on his side. So what, and I'll tell about this a little bit later when we talk a little bit more, but it's like it's a good system, checks and balances for the IRS. Oh, you paid this much to this company, this federal tax ID number, and this company reports this much, so we are good. There could be some timing difference, but overall it's the same. It's just like checking. Best way to flag to get flagged by the IRS is not to report income when somebody reported you on 1099. So let's say you guys are flight attendants.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just sit down, like talk to real numbers. You
Sure.
fly for different airlines. You get, let's say for 5, you
Sure.
get 5 1099s, right? And you just forgot that you actually flew for the 6th one, and that airline either forgot to send you 1099 or you can't get it. So you're like, okay, well, I just only have 5.
Mhm.
And you just look at it at the form, make sure that the total matches to what you're reporting, because that's where discrepancy starts. You have the rights to go back to your customer and say, hey, can you issue me 1099? I cannot locate it. Or how much money did you pay? Just can you help me out here?
Mhm.
The best friends for you are the bookkeepers, accountants on the other end. So
Yeah.
because we are here, my job is when I file 1099, making sure that your back end matches mine. So we
Mhm.
don't go back and forth trying to reissue the form because it's a nightmare.
Right. I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's such a good thing to consider because, a lot of cabinet attendants do fly for so many companies throughout the year. So trying to keep track of all of that is difficult. And then, we don't want to get flagged just because, we flew for 12 companies and 11 only show up. Yeah, so that's super important. Thank you for that.
So being responsible business owner, what do you need to do to keep track of everything that's coming in and coming out? Which means that, yes, I want to double check and review what's on my end and on the customer's end. But at the end of the day, it's not their job to make sure that your bookkeeping is correct, right? So which means whatever you get must go to one bank account, right? And when you do your bookkeeping and when you put everything in,
Mhm.
make sure that it's kind of like, this is where the responsibility with your accounting comes in.
Mhm.
Make it
Yeah.
easy for you. Make it easy. Don't make it complicated. Remember, if your money comes and goes into different bank accounts,
Right.
mess.
I know. And that's one thing you told me as well, to make sure that I'm using one card that's coming out of one bank account and everything is for a business expense. And then that'll show up if you're doing it, digitally or QuickBooks or whatever your system is. I mean, it's all right there. And you're not saying, oh crap, I paid for that with my personal debit card by accident. And then there's a whole, because I made that mistake, it's not worth it.
Yeah, don't take it wrong. We accountants, bookkeepers, we love dealing with the mess.
Yeah.
Forensic accounting, trying to figure out that it's going to cost you
Right.
money and my time. So I prefer just kind of teach you at the very beginning, make it down, solid foundation, let's go. 1099. Then that brings us to accurate record keeping systems. I love QuickBooks, either desktop or online. Online is user-friendly. You can give access to your accountants. They can come in and plug something for you, or you can do it yourself anywhere.
Yeah.
Or QuickBooks Desktop is the cheaper version. The way I work with companies who have desktops, we just share that file through Dropbox or Google Drive. So there are ways. You just need to figure out which one is user-friendly and you love more and just go for it.
I
Okay.
love from my experience. I had Jania go in there and help me and show me how to do. So it was the best business money I've ever spent, truly. And I think it's super user friendly. Yeah, that's what I would recommend.
The only part on you is discipline. So
Yeah.
my advice, doing that 15 minutes a day, every day, 15 minutes a day at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day for the prior day. And then what happens, you actually start learning, doing it faster and faster. And sometimes for a week, it would take you 10 minutes to download, sync, classify, go, and then 30 minutes to reconcile. And
Yes.
make it fun,
Yep.
discipline. Okay, so next layer would be reconcile bank and credit card accounts. That's important because sometimes QuickBooks is still a software. Sometimes it just can double, triple, or the transactions might go in a different direction.
Mhm.
So, and I'll talk a little bit later how the importance of kind of getting your financial statements and absorbing that. All right, and then the last one is here, annual federal and state reporting. As I told you, either Schedule C or Schedule 1 for a hobby, or it's going to be Schedule C for LLCs and the state reporting as well. Right, so step number 4, reporting business income and expenses. All right, so I'm just going to read this. All earned income and incurred expenses must be reported. Okay, again, whatever you receive, earn, must be reported. Whether it's cash, whether it's a credit card payment that got into your bank account, whether it's a Venmo, whether it's Zelle, whether it's Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. If you don't report something and somebody files 1099 on your behalf, you're in trouble. Stop it. Report all your income. So when I got my master's degree and when I first was introduced to this amazing world of taxes, and I got this book that's called the IRS Code, Internal Revenue Code, Title 26, Income Taxes. And the first thing that I learned and that fascinated me a lot, it was like, you owe the amount of tax that you owe and not a penny more. Just stay with us. You owe the exact amount of money in taxes and not a penny more. Who decides what that amount of tax? You decide based on all earned income and incurred expenses. Okay, feel the power that you have. The IRS gives you this power to report all your income because you guys get to deduct all the expenses that belong to that business. Now we're gonna go to the next part that's the most important for you and the most fun for me is the question, what can I deduct?
We got so many questions about very specific things, passport renewals, suitcases, uniforms, nail appointments. I mean,
All
you
right.
named it. We got it.
You got it. So then this is your business. This is your baby. Everything that you earned is in this business, all sorts of income for this specific business must be reported. You got this. It's super clean, super clear, everything perfect. Okay, what can I deduct? The first rule that I teach all of my clients is to answer every time you're about to make a purchase, to spend time, money, to run that credit card, you must answer this one question. Is it ordinary and necessary expense for this business? Is it ordinary and necessary? Okay, so which brings me back. I love yachts. I love ocean. I love yachts. I'm a tax accountant. I'm just going to go and buy that yacht. But the question is it ordinary and necessary expense for me? Okay, probably not. However, if you guys are jumping into my mastermind, annual mastermind, and I am bringing you all on that yacht, and we are spending a week traveling while I'm putting that fun tax knowledge in you, I get to deduct a portion of that.
Yeah.
Do you see? So the question was from you that I got, like, when I go to when you just got hired to on this trip, and I go in and I buy supplies that I know I will use for this business, which means plates, whatever, ornaments. Remember, Lauren, you were talking about?
Yeah, so
Little things.
things, right? Like if you are a contractor and you are getting ready to go on a trip, you have no idea what equipment you have on there. Do you have plating rings or certain platters or anything like that? It's yours. It's not going to be left on the jet. So it's a supply.
Absolutely. And that would be classified as cost of goods sold. You could do some kind of ornaments because you are high end. You create an experience. The better experience is, the more hireable you are, right? So is it ordinary and necessary expense? Yes. Okay, so the question that usually the next would be like, I go and I do my nails. Tricky. If let's say you have the uniform that is purple and that's your image and that purple only associates with that specific image, I might tell you it's okay. However, you're carrying those nails and using that uniform somewhere else, it's not deductible, right? So if you can literally be in the integrity and say, hey, I got this specific uniform, super expensive. I am not wearing it to go to clubs and to hang out with my friends because it was so super expensive, then yes, that uniform will be deductible. Because as high end, you're not wearing it every day. You're just specific for the job, because that's Start thinking this way. If
Yeah.
you do trainings, all trainings that help you to generate more money in your business are deductible.
So
All professional courses, my course, you jump into my course, it's deduction continued education for you.
if you're a contractor and you have to pay for your own recurrent training every year.
Absolutely deductible. It's dues and subscriptions. You go and do Zoom subscriptions. It's your telephone. All
Right.
of us are using our cell phone, personal cell phones for business, probably 80%. Right. So,
Probably.
and I taught Lauren literally do that. It's
Yeah.
just like, okay, monthly expense $100, $80 must jump on your business.
Yep.
This is the time when you stand up and say that was ordinary and necessary for your business. I'm not playing here. Also, if you're renting space and you have the home office, what's the difference between you going and renting that space? The same rent expense. Your business is done right here. So ask me how to do that, and I'm happy to teach you guys. But stand up
Yeah.
and report all your expenses. Just think about how many expenses you forget, which means which brings me back to, do you run everything through one bank account or not? Are you using the only credit card or not? So easy to get lost and miss. So I'm standing up for literal financial literacy among women. So it's time to get a hold of that. And it's proper, like making sure enough is enough. It's so much fun to know that, oh, all my bookkeeping is in place. It's all organized and I can see it. It's like when you print your P&L, it's like, oh my God, look at this. I'm
Mhm.
a big badass lady boss, right? You look at this, and then you know what happens next? You're no longer scared to send it to your CPAs and your tax people because we love you, because we know that your financials are clean. We can play with you with this tax game. And I would say, hey, you know what? What are you doing being a sole proprietor? Because you sent me my financials in June, not in January, right? And I was like, no, enough. We're going to get you LLC, classify as a C corporation, make small election as corporation election, so you could do more. Because I see you, I don't want to see $50,000 as a net income on your P&L, because I know that you either pay tax that goes, and I love paying taxes, but you can, instead of pay tax, you can shift that, create some kind of retirement bucket, right? Pocket there, and invest that. It's not just, okay,
Yeah.
I just came up with a new thing. So whatever you're doing in your active life, this is all earned income, active income. It's not passive.
Mhm.
The tax rates for active income is way higher than passive.
Right.
So my strategy when we come in, the tax people come in and say, okay, great. I want to send you on this goal to generate $1 million. And then I come in, I create the mechanisms inside of your business. Either do a solo 401k, you can do it as a sole proprietor or a single member LLC person. And I will shift a chunk of money into this solo 401k way, that money you can invest in real estate. And that's a different game we're playing, because that real estate is going to generate passive income that's going to grow your IRA or 401k. Guys, if just this gives you an idea to play a bigger game, because you're no longer scared of stupid taxes. They're not stupid. It's just a game. It's a puzzle. And who said that you can't play that game?
And that's so, I'm
Right.
so happy you mentioned that, because so many cabin attendants have side businesses, right? And there are so many pilots who, a lot of them do real estate, and they do stocks, and they trade, and they do all this stuff. And you see them do it and you're like, oh, that'd be cool to like know how to do. And like we can do that. We can be cabin attendants and we can invest in real estate and other investments and stock. And we can do all of this stuff while also flying around the world.
Right. And then so remember, I will always refer you to my second slide. What you focus on growth. Okay, I have four sisters. I have older sister, she's super smart. As a second kid, what do I get to do? I get to be faster, to just like, okay, there are options. I don't want to lose this game. I don't want to just like, oh my God, what is, right? So what are options? And what I figured out is just like, oh, would I focus on growth? So why would I be stupid to focus on negativity and this taxes as a scary game rather than this? I will focus intentionally my thoughts on generating. I want that retirement covered. I'm going to do this. I want to grow my business. I'm going to do this. Fun.
I love this.
Fun. Okay, let's see what next.
Okay.
So again, 5 steps. Make a decision. Figure out legal entity if you're ready or not. Set up your business structure. Again, get an LLC or you need something more. Report all your income. Put all your expenses on it. And then reconciliation and review. Start loving the software that produces the results. I said at the very beginning, I've created so much and I cannot wait to share with you guys. I also have the gifts and so many things so that when you implement that, when you focus on this, that's going to grow. That's going to generate income. That's going to reduce the stress and fears and just remove that burden. As a contractor, Kim asks, I have an LLC. Should I file jointly with my husband or separately? Okay, so Kim, great question. So number one, single member LLC or not? If it's there are 2 other members and that LLC has not and it has nothing to do with your husband, then it's going to be partnership return separately from your husband, right? In terms of if I am a sole proprietor or a single member LLC owner, I have 2 options. And usually we would run as tax people, we would run scenarios as married filing jointly or married filing separately and see which will produce better results.
Mhm.
So my advice, always look at options. Don't be stuck with one. Yes, being married, you're supposed to file tax return jointly, right? However, if there is a tactics behind it, tax strategy, or it produces better results, or maybe your husband has some debt, right? Or maybe he's W-2 and he, like this is the game that put the puzzles, ask the tax people, which would produce the best result. And also, my advice, do not prepare taxes yourself. Like, do not prepare tax returns yourself. You know what? It's just like me going and writing marketing plan and my copies. It's just like I'm gonna be dragged into something. I will procrastinate or do IT. So give yourself a gift of finding the right person who is in your state specifically, who understand what you are doing.
Love this. So say you are a W-2 employee at a company, you work full time for them, but you also do a couple contracting trips on the side that, does equate to a good amount of money. Is there any better way to do, do you do an LLC? Do you recommend something else? Or do you not do anything different? If you don't have an LLC, just, file as normal. What would you recommend?
Okay, so number one, okay, what are you doing with this business? Are you growing or not? Because my intention for all ladies to go full in, play out completely, time is now for the next 10 years, generate enormous amount of money, diversify different engines, so that would start producing passive income. So in 10 years, you can retire or do something for fun, right? Hobby. And report that $1,000 and forget about expenses, right? However, right now you're W-2 because you probably have to, and your gig, your business, side business is not there yet. So, and you're scared to jump in. So I would be okay with you being a sole proprietor. However, if you're making money, you see the potential, I would just go into create that LLC for now. If you're making more than 50,000, if your net income 50 or more, I would just do LLC, tax as C corporation, and make small corporation election, because that strategy, that kind of a way will help you save more on payroll taxes, and that gives me more like a room to play and strategize again. So with all this presentation, if you just get one thing, is like, what is my intention? What is my goal? Where I'm going? Just nail that down and then reverse engineer. So I want to grow that business, but I'm still W-2 and I'm scared and I don't want to do blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. How badly do you want that?
Yeah.
rather than worrying, right? Okay, so W-2, get that income. If you can keep that and kind of stretch, go. My experience when I was doing that, working for CPA firm and starting my own business, it delays the growth. Especially as a single mom, I literally found myself with 2 kids, no support, no relatives. And I'm like, I'm not going back home. This is it.
Yeah.
All in. And magic happens. The doors get open. The taxes become so much fun and numbers are neutral. It's just the feedback for you guys. So if you are running in loss, it might not be a bad idea to run in loss because you can generate a bunch of money and I'll help you with the strategy. When there is a loss, there is no taxes paid. So what are we worrying about taxes, right?
Right.
Like think about it. So again, what do you want, how much you want, and then reverse. And then look at Excel, put in everything Excel. If W-2, I'm feeling secure to get that paycheck, or I could triple on the flights that I can subcontract, and I can make probably 3-5 times more. Let's just be realistic. Look at the numbers. They tell the story. Magic. Cool. All right. So, I do have a question. All right. So the question was, if I already have an LLC for real estate, would it make sense to create a separate LLC just for flight attendant purposes? Okay. Great question. Great question. Already current LLC or create something else. You can do either or. So the only reason you might want to get another LLC is, let's just say I have the name of my LLC, Bookkeeping Partners LLC. And then I go with this bookkeeping partners into flight attendant business. So it's kind of would be like, what? So that's number one. If you have the universal name, Jenia Serebrin LLC, that might work. You just need to be, let's say your real estate would be something like a rental income that's coming in. That's Schedule E. Your ordinary income from flying, this activity would be on Schedule C. So you need to keep 2 different sets of books, or in QuickBooks, it could be different classes.
Okay.
So if you want to grow it in both directions, I would just separate, just so you don't create the mess.
Right.
Right. So I would definitely keep separate bank accounts. Bank accounts and credit cards, just for the reason in QuickBooks, you would sync everything into credit cards from 2 different businesses, and it would be easier for you to classify. So simplicity is always better than complexity.
Right.
Make it simple.
And
Yeah.
you're not losing out on money by doing them separate then, correct?
Right. So yes. And then again, yes, it will be $800 if you do 2 separate. But again, what's your mindset about this? It's another thing that to consider. Real estate is a completely different animal. You don't want to put your flight attendant business with the money that it will generate at risk if something happens on your real estate side and vice versa.
Right.
So what's the goal behind it? Am I trying to save? It could fly for a little bit, but the risk that might be behind it could be more than your little savings.
Right. Like you and I talked about before this, it all comes down to a few rules that it's like they're umbrella rules, and all these questions are sort of under that, and they're answered in a very similar way. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, so guys, I'm excited to tell you about my offer and my course. So I am creating an online course. I have other course that is business, but this is the one that is specifically designed for flight attendants. It's a self-paced. We're meeting 5 times and it's going to be recorded. So the way it would work, for an hour, you come in and I'll teach you business structure, just like I did, but a little bit deeper, so that you have that foundation for your business. I teach for an hour, we're recording it, I pause, and then we're recording all your questions that you have pertaining to your business. So whatever questions you have during my presentation, you write it down. We answer all of them, and we will cover LLCs. I will touch more on the retirement 401k, where to go, who you would search for, or how to even think about it when it comes to retirement and vehicles. And then I also have this special spreadsheet. You can download, you can get it. I have organized like a pro workbook, and you get for free. You have to stop being scared and communicate with me. Facebook group, Accounting and Tax with Jen. We have a Wednesday session when people are coming at 9 a.m. on Zoom and ask whatever questions. This is the time when you step up, and it's just use this time. And I love to gig on whatever you have. Meaning, like, if I don't know something, I'm going to research and I'm going to bring that back into community. So for today, it's just 2,500. And the last thing that I'd love for you to also have, two things. Number one, you get 1 hour with me. That's exactly what I did with Lauren. And
Yeah.
she trusted me enough to give me access as an accountant to her
Yeah.
QuickBooks. So we did the magic. I actually showed her, okay, this is what you get to own. This is what you are right now. You are in business. This is your profit and loss. This is how to record and run. Everything is recorded so you can go back and revisit and kind of put that back in. And my next gift is my money mindset course, online course. And this is why I'm excited about it. It's just like I have 5 rules that I use in my life. I teach my clients, and that's how I generated 7 digits in my life, in my business. And that's why I get to go to $10 million by the age of 45. But these are the rules, just like what you focus on expands. And there are 5 of them. And all I'm asking you to just manage your mind and trust me. And trust me. Remember, I'm a tax accountant. I believe in law of attraction, chain reaction, quantum physics. Quantum physics and all your thoughts that you can't see and can't feel. They're so tangible that that's what's bringing you the wealth and good energy and man and whatever you guys want. And if you didn't get it, it's so much more fun to be in the integrity, to be in this high level energy and frequency where numbers are neutral and they're so easy. And taxes get to be so much fun because this is what you're destined for. You have the gift. It's time to open it. So super excited for you guys. Let's do it together, elevate the space and create amazing results for you and your families.
Yeah, I love this. This was so great. I can't emphasize enough how important this is, again, for what we do, and for what we all want to do. So many of us are incredibly aspirational, and we have so many goals and things that we want to do within this industry. But again, unless you know and understand how to keep clean books and how to have that mindset, I mean, it doesn't matter. So, it was so wonderful. You answered all of our questions that we have all of the time, and I cannot wait. So, what is the best way for somebody to enroll in this? How do we get the ball rolling?
All right, so here, so you email at info@jeniaserebrin.com. So that's your main, so just write it down. For some reason you cannot find it, jeniaserebrin.com. My number is 310-486-1214. So the best way I advise my clients, you want to be friends with somebody. You have tax accountant, bring them into your life, elevate your life. So reach out and let's just start creating together. Email, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, Facebook. Find me, and usually it's like Jen Serebrin, because when I moved to America, nobody could pronounce my name for whatever reason. So that's where, just reach out. Lauren is an amazing source of information. Don't be strangers.
Yeah, and I think too, like, don't be embarrassed. I know that I ask questions that I'm like, oh my gosh, she probably is gonna think I am so silly, and it's not even gonna be a question that she like makes sense because it's so silly. It's not true. Just ask. If you don't ask, you don't know, and you have to start somewhere.
Right. Remember, it starts like I did SpongeBob, Seinfeld, Desperate Housewives. I still remember them. Grey's Anatomy.
I love the surprise. It's one of my favorites.
Start small. Yes. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm excited to create something amazing with you, with the rest of you guys. I think it's fascinating what you do. You are beautiful. You fly you visit places, and you always like one of my things on my dream board is private jet. We get to go. Private chef. You guys are amazing. So why not? Who said that? Who said that?
Yeah. Yeah. And now you know some flight attendants who can help you with
Exactly.
that.
And by the way, just like Lauren, it's okay. So if I want private jet, I know Lauren. She's going to recommend the best jet that I can buy out there.
Mhm.
And she can recommend the best vendor, but the best I know she knows.
Yeah,
And this is where I focus. I want to focus, and that's going to grow. Fun. So pick what you want, start focusing there, and that's what's going to grow.
absolutely. Thank you so much for all of your time today. You are going to help so many more people than you have any idea about. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what comes of this.
Thank you.